Hi, Mark Hauer again, author of Lovelorn Squids from Outer Space, wearing my really cool shirt in sepia tones, but it's in really quite eye-bursting colors. And today is going to be chapter 2. So gather around, you little squidlings, and listen. Keys to the Kingdom, present day, chapter 2. Quite a bit, I admitted. I've stolen freely from him for years. Any honey cutting in worth his salt does. HP's mythos is so rich, it diverges from the usual apocalyptic dystopian deconstructionist underpinnings of the above-average post-World War I fantasy writers in startling ways. Shall I expand? No? Anyway, I studied his work in college. I even took a sociology course that targeted his followers, the Brethren. The scholars remain divided in their opinions about whether or not they satisfy the requirements of culthood status. There is compelling, if controversial, evidence that the Brethren were connected with the War Department. Crazy, right? And to think, my obsession began when the 8-year-old me found a copy of Gramps' Weirder magazines and sent in $1.25 for a year's subscription. I checked the box yes for the chance to test for probationary status as a junior agent, and decades later, here I am. Of course, by then the Brethren were long gone, as was HP, but that's fine. From that day onward, I wanted to be a writer, almost as much as I wanted to be one of his agents. I paused to catch my breath. I had spoken more words in the past few minutes than I had for the past year living in the nameless. Well, what would you give to know and tell the complete history, the marble-white stranger said. All the glory, yes, and all the horror. I gawked at him like an idiot. In my world, the keys to the kingdom were not simply handed to you. I'm not talking about team leader at McDonald's either. You can, you know. All it takes is a simple yes. Suspicion warred with my native greed. It depends, I said. Say yes. Maybe. I've been instructed to handle your travel logistics. I don't know. This is all kind of sudden. Expenses paid. Of course, after you've met with the boss and accepted the job, the contracts won't be ready for your signature, and a percentage of the monies will be freed immediately to be deposited into your account. That sounds like a plan, I said. My stomach grumbled. Are you springing for lunch? If it were a serious offer, he wouldn't hesitate. Of course. Would lobster be agreeable? Yes, I said. By the way, what's your name? Ouch! I spun around and met the cold gaze of an evil little man in a red silk ao, the traditional garb of the old-school Vietnamese royalty. He owned the stringiest Fu Manchu mustache I'd ever seen. In his right hand, he brandished a hypodermic syringe. The filthy hallway began to wobble and then spin. Gotcha, he cackled. We're going to sell you for pots. I toppled over in an uncoordinated heap. Would I miss these squalid surroundings, the peeling wallpaper, the warped woodwork, the threadbare runners that didn't so much run as stagger dustily the length of the hallway? Like hell, I would. Any place is better than the nameless, even the abyss, the infernal regions, or as a perpetually recycled snack for the elder gods. And then the drugs kicked in. Whatever variety of vitamin tranquilizers I've been given, I suddenly felt like I'd been wrapped in a blanket of cotton candy while being fanned by Cloud's soft angel's wings. A faraway voice told me to knock it off and stop mangling 99 Luft balloons. An indeterminate length of time passed before I awoke. Muzzily, I swung my legs off the couch and onto the floor. I found a pair of luxuriant shearling moccasins next to the sofa, so I slipped my grateful flat feet deep into their plush warmth and wriggled my toes. I cautiously studied my surroundings. The attic in which I'd awakened appeared naggingly familiar, and then I remembered why. I'd seen photos of this attic many times. This is where H.P. Honeycutt wrote his most thrilling and bizarre genre-bending tales. This is where most of the photographs of the author at work had been taken. There was his walnut desk with various writing implements on display, and the famed Lake table lamp, rumored to be modeled upon the great Kraken of legend, done in glistening emerald glass. Over in the corner lurked a fortune-telling machine, the automaton fashioned to look like a stern Greek philosopher. There were jars upon jars filled with preservative fluid, inside of which myriad species of fetal creatures spun in slow motion upon the few spaces where books or notebooks were not. Beneath my feet, finely woven antique rugs added an exotic flavor to the space while hiding the rude planks beneath. A thrill ran up my spine. I was at 66 College Street in Providence, Rhode Island. I reached into my pocket and drew out my iPhone. Plenty of juice. I checked the date and time. Well, that couldn't be right. Transported from the Oregon coast to New England? In under 3 hours? Impossible. No, in the words of the great actor Wallace Shawn, it wasn't impossible, it was inconceivable. No, merely improbable, even imponderable, if you like the math, said a voice dry as the desert sands, yet penetrating as a trumpet summons to battle. Dangling carelessly from the speaker's left hand was an oxygen mask. From his right, a smoldering cigarette gave up a cloying, sweet, and resinous perfume with just a piquant hint of ammonia. The old man stepped closer. He was whippet thin, with a cool glint in his eye that spelled trouble. Think of an albino Basil Rathbone, circa 1964, but vigorous and with an acquired New England accent, and not Rathbone's orotund Shakespearean British. I recognized him immediately through the welter of time's wrinkles. His cool, dry hand briefly gripped mine. He had to be Charles LeBlanc, senior agent of the Brethren. Charles LeBlanc, sir, the last of the Brethren. Told you. I said. I desire to hire you to tell our story, he said. Well, that's not the impression I got. Oh? This little bastard jabbed me with a hypo and told me I was going to be rendered down for parts. You can imagine my relief to waken on a couch, not a bathtub filled with ice. Oh, that was Papa, an old and trusted minion we keep on retainer. He wasn't supposed to be here. I sent him on a shopping expedition to Home Depot to modernize our workspace. LeBlanc heaved a sigh. Well, no doubt he did that to punish me for hiring a temp to fetch you. Oh, the Edgar Allan Poe cosplayer? Well, he is a well-respected actor who's fallen on hard times. He gave you the correct information, I trust. Well, he played his part, I'm here. But I'm giving you a hard pass. Are you sure? Free health and dental services for the first day. Spending money? Oodles, compared to what you're used to. Yes, but do I receive any of it up front, like now? I said oodles, a stipend of $800 a week. How much upon completion? $2 million, if you perform satisfactorily. I felt the blood drain from my face. So how do we go about this? I talk, you record and transcribe. The rest of the time is your own to research and write. I insist you be rigorous, though. I shall critique the results. Savvy? Yeah, I said slowly, but why me? I'm just another weird bastard with a writing monkey on his back. More than one editor complains I have a writing style better suited for the 19th century. So much like our master. Would you care to learn something bizarre? Before his death, H.P. wrote your name, your date of birth, and the city of your birth in his journal. Well, that is bizarre, I said. Would you be impressed if I told you he wrote that information while in a trance state in 1939? Somewhere in the whirls of my brain, I heard the call of the cuckoo urging caution. H.P. Honeycutt, celebrated master of the macabre, had died years before my birth. Or had he? There were rumors. I crossed this room to the steel carafe, sweating tantalizing on a side table. I reached for one of the two polished tumblers. I offered LeBlanc a glass, but he silently demurred, so I poured myself one and drank it. I poured another one. I drank that one too. So would you, I bet. Metabolizing tranquilizers is thirsty work. 1939 was also the year the outsiders invaded, the old agent said. The year when reality cracked in half. Well, that wasn't the only thing I suspected had cracked. But beggars can't be choosers. 2 million? I let the madman rant on. Finally, he paused for breath. I signed on the dotted line. I envisioned a rustic castle and a library stocked with first editions in my future. That's the end of chapter 2. Chapter 3, in a day or two, maybe next week. And again, thanks as always. If you can, drop me a couple of bucks for Spot Fund, and we'll see if we can get that screenplay finished and the movie made. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.